thrill me.
This show is part of the Thrill Me Podcast Network. Experience more on Facebook and YouTube.
It's Review It Man, reviewing what he can. Movies are his jam, so let's get twisted, man. It's Review It Rob. Welcome to the Review It Rob show. Appreciate you all joining in to listen to this show on what is a special week for the show, actually. As of this episode and as of this week, the show is hitting its 4th anniversary. That's right, the show has been around for 4 years, man, starting this week. I'm celebrating this week. So if you've been here since the beginning, I appreciate you so much. If you're new, I appreciate you as well for joining in on this adventure, man. I'm having so much fun doing the show. I've absolutely loved doing the show and having a good time with it, and hoping it shows through to all of you. Just a common man, podcaster, if you will, having fun talking about things I love, including movies being the main subject of the Review It Rob show. We'll get some Universal Studios, some HHN, some WWE talk, video game talk, all that kind of stuff on the show. And I'm just having a great time doing it. To think 4 years ago, around this time, I was doing the very first episode of the show is awesome. So appreciate you again if you've been here since the beginning, or if you are new. I appreciate all of you taking the time to listen to this show and hope you are enjoying it. So no further ado, let's jump into this week's episode where I'll be giving my thoughts on the film Lisa Frankenstein that released last week. The movie is PG-13 for violent content, sexual assault language, bloody images, sexual material, teen drinking, and drug content. The movie is a horror romance film running at 1 hour and 41 minutes and is currently in theaters. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on that film as well. News that we have going on. Mostly going to be some horror news, not really anything going on in the DC front right now, and then some other news around the movie realm, man. So jumping into Lisa Frankenstein, if you haven't seen the trailer or anything for this movie, it's called a coming-of-rage love story from Diablo Cody, who you may know from Jennifer's Body. If you've not seen Jennifer's Body, watch it. It is a fantastically comedic horror film. Diablo Cody is the writer of this film about a teenage girl, kind of misunderstood, and her high school crush, who happens to be a corpse. Handsome corpse, but a corpse nonetheless. After a set of playful horrific circumstances bring the corpse back to life, the two embark on a murderous journey to find love, happiness, and a few missing body parts along the way. Rotten Tomatoes critics have it at a 50%, while the audience score has actually gone up. When I started putting those together, it was at a 78%. As of the most recent viewing, it is at an 83%. So fans are watching the movie and they are enjoying it. IMDb is at a 6.5 out of 10. So what were my thoughts on the film? So Lisa Frankenstein was a film that was on my most anticipated films of the year list. You can check that video out on the Thrill Me Podcast Network's YouTube. Check that out if you're not already subscribed and getting the notifications, man. That'd be awesome if you do that. We've got all kinds of fun content over there. But it was on my most anticipated films of the year because it just, after seeing that first trailer, I'm like, oh, this looks fun. And, Diablo Cody, and again, I enjoy Jennifer's Body. That film is a very enjoyable film. Enjoyed it from the first time I saw it, and I've always enjoyed it anytime I come across it again. And so I saw that she was attached. I saw that Zelda Williams, who, if you're not aware, is Robin Williams' daughter. This is her first live full feature film directing. So I'm like, oh, that's cool, that's rad. And then Catherine Newton being the star of the film, who I've become a fan of from her other work, mostly Freaky. I thought she was fantastic in Freaky, so I was like, okay, cool. And then I saw the trailer. Like, this is just going to be a good time. No matter what, this is going to be a good fun time. Frankenstein, it's bringing up, it's a Universal film, so it's bringing up classic Universal monster vibes and, classic Frankenstein story, but definitely a twist here. Again, I don't spoil movies on this show, not on purpose at least, but I don't spoil movies, so I'm not going to jump into the things that happen in it, but it is different from the classic Frankenstein story in many, many ways, but it has the same kind of vibe thrown in there with the Jennifer's Body vibe of things, which works great. This movie is honestly, A fantastic film from start to finish. I will even go to the route of possibly calling it a masterpiece, which I do not throw that out very likely or very easily likely. I don't throw it out very easily calling a movie a masterpiece, but to me, and I'm not gonna fully call this movie a masterpiece, but it's close there. And if I spend some more time with it, I probably could call it a masterpiece, at least to me, because I've had a just absolute 100% fantastic time watching this movie from the beginning all the way through. Like there wasn't a moment during this movie where I was bored. Was like whatever. Like I was just having a good time because one, I understood the Diablo Cody vibe of everything, and I knew what I was getting into with the trailer, and that combined with each other. And just watching that movie from the way it starts and the music in the movie, oh my god, the music in this movie. And let me tell you, the universal classics, the new styles, the vibes, the classic 80s songs that they put into this movie, just everything is just a perfect vibe, if you will, in this movie. And I just fell in love during this movie the whole time and was in love the whole time. And it's a horror comedy, horromedy. That sounds horromedy. I don't know if that sounds good or bad, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, it is a horror comedy film through and through, and it's a romance movie. And they nailed it in every single aspect that they could. Like I said, you've got that classic Frankenstein idea, kind of, sort of, mixed with the Jennifer's body of it all, adding in the romance to it, right? So was there romance in Jennifer's Body? Kind of, sort of, but not great romance. But kind of, sort of there, right? I haven't watched Jennifer's Body in a little bit, but from what I can remember, there is some romance there, but not as much as there is in this movie. Which this movie isn't overly romantical, if that's something that scares you away from movies, which it shouldn't. But if that's something that scares you away from movies, it's not overly romantical. But it does have that in there as you get there. But the comedy of this movie, and sometimes with horror films, especially when they're like horror comedies, it's a little over the top, ridiculous, unnecessary kind of deal, and you're laughing at things you shouldn't be laughing at. Not at all in this movie. Everything that is a comedic aspect in this movie, and I laughed so much and had so much happiness watching this movie because it's so well put together, well written, well directed, well acted. Like everything about the movie just hit on every single part that I needed to hit on. It's got, you know, a Tim Burton aesthetic to it, if you will. I'm not really a cinematography person. I leave that for other people to talk about, but it has that vibe to it as well. So Tim Burton, Diablo Cody, classic Universal monsters, horror comedy, all that kind of stuff, just all mashed up into one monster mash of a film, if you will. Um, oh my god, it's so good. It is so good. Like I'm at the point where it's like my number one movie is a tie right now, and it could sway depending on things that my number one film since the beginning of the year, pretty much. Well, not really, because the first movie I saw was Night Swim, and that's definitely not my number one movie. But Mean Girls has been the biggest film of the year for me for so many reasons of how good that movie was, and just the soundtrack and the songs from that movie still being replayed every day for me, and just being on my on repeat list every week. So Mean Girls hit in a big bad way, but freaking Lisa Frankenstein's right there, and it could overtake it at any moment. The more I think about it, because again, it's just that damn good. Sorry for cussing, but hey, I was in my Triple H mode. But loved every single aspect of this movie. I can't complain about a thing at all in the movie. It's so well done. Catherine Newton, mentioned her earlier. My most introduction to her was Freaky, which I thought she was absolutely fantastic in. Other than that, I haven't seen much of her work. I know she was in Ant Man and the Wasp last year, or Ant Man Quantum Mania, Ant Man and the Wasp Quantum. Who fucking cares? I'm sorry for cussing again, but that movie, I know she was in that last year, and she's fine in that. But yeah, apparently she was in Detective Pikachu, but I don't remember that at all. But with this movie and Freaky, and she also has Abigail coming out later this year. She's one of the cast members in Abigail, which is another movie that was on my most anticipated list before it even had a name. Like right before it even had a name, before it really even had a synopsis or anything. I'm like, oh cool, Universal Monster vibe movie coming out this year. That's my jam. I'm there, right? So apparently, oh, she was in Blockers too. Wow. Okay. Okay, so I've seen movies with her in it without realizing it was her. But as far as like horror goes with her, her horror resume, and again, I haven't seen Abigail yet, but she's building up a horror resume, and with Freaky, and I thought she was absolutely fantastic in that movie, and now Lisa Frankenstein, where I think she's absolutely fantastic in that movie, and from what I've seen in the trailer of Abigail, she's gonna be good as well in that movie. And apparently she was in Paranormal Activity 4. I haven't seen any of those movies, just to be honest with you, so I don't know what she did in that movie. I assume that movie is not as uh, comedic, comical, but we can start having these conversations about, is Catherine Newton Scream Queen? Is she hitting that Scream Queen level, right? Is she at that part? Possible, right? I think she's definitely in the horror comedy realm, absolute queen, right? Overall horror aspect, I don't know if we're hitting the comedic yet, because again, Freaky comedy horror movie, Lisa Frankenstein comedy horror movie, Abigail, probably more of a horror film, but there is a comedic aspect to it from watching that trailer. I can see that there's going to be some laughs, especially with her when she's like a ballerina vampire. So, I think she's definitely carved out a niche for her in the horror realm, and she absolutely is going to be a queen, a scream queen as well. If she's at that point yet, we'll leave that up to discussion. Let me know what you think in the comments. But I'm fine putting her at that level. I think she has absolutely nailed horror comedy. Like, she's nailed that without a doubt. She acts perfect in every single horror comedy movie I've seen her in. So she's got that down packed. It's the straight up horror movie that I don't know if I've seen her in yet. We'll see what Abigail is when, again, it has that comedy aspect to it. I have not seen Paranormal Activity 4, so I can't really tell you there, but we'll see, right? But I like Catherine Newton. I think she's great. Somebody else is in this movie that I've been, watching tons of things that they've been in since I was younger, is Cole Sprouse, man. Cole Sprouse is the corpse of the movie. So Cole and his twin brothers, I've run across many of times watching TV or movies mostly, where, of course, Big Daddy was probably the first thing we saw them in. I believe they were on Friends, but I don't really watch Friends. But Sweet Life of Zack and Cody was a show I watched all the time, right? And, I didn't watch Sweet Life on Deck or anything like that because I was kind of out of the Disney at that point. But Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, I watched all the freaking time and had a great time and thought they were fun on that show. Cole being the star, of course, of Lisa Frankenstein with Catherine Newton. And then I've watched about 3 episodes of Riverdale. If you've been with the show for a while, Riverdale and I had about, maybe a couple weeks together, and then I just stopped watching, mostly because I forgot to continue watching. But, well, they have him listed for that 70s show, and I don't remember that, but whatever. Um, yeah, anyways, he's solid in the movie as well. Like, he's really good in the movie playing like a corpse. So, he's got to do a lot of emoting without talking, right? Because, corpse doesn't have the ability to really, talk, So there's aspects in growing and learning and all this stuff and what's happening throughout the movie and all that stuff. He's doing a fantastic job of being the creature to the Doctor, if you will, but not really the Doctor because it's not a full Frankenstein-ish film. So the creature to the teen character, however you want to put it, the creature to Lisa. So he does a great job. The whole cast is really good in the movie. So overall, I've talked a lot about this movie and it deserves it. I absolutely 100%ly love this movie. It is easily one of my favorite films that I've seen so far this year. I believe I've seen about 8 or 9 movies, new movies released in 2024 so far, and is easily top tier for me of the movies I've seen, and I could see it lasting throughout the year and staying in my top 10 because I just love it that much and had that much of a good time with it, man. So those are my thoughts on Lisa Frankenstein without going into spoilers. If you've seen the film, let me know what you think in the comments, what your thoughts were, if you enjoyed it or not. I've seen a lot of my mutual acquaintances on Twitter, I refuse to call it the other name on Twitter, have seen the movie and enjoyed it as well. So it's getting positive feedback. Like I said, that audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is growing the more people that see it. So it's getting a good vibe from audiences, so that's good to see. So there you go, man. That's my thoughts on Lisa Frankenstein. Now, going from there, let's jump into some horror news that has broke. Jeez, I can't talk. That broke since the last time we talked. First thing first, being that there's another Predator film on the way. 20th Century, they dropped the Fox since Disney bought them. 20th Century is moving forward with a new Predator film with Dan Trachtenberg to return to write and direct. Dan Trachtenberg did the Prey film that came out recently. He will be doing the film Badlands in the Predator franchise. That will be a new standalone film. This is of course, coming off the success of Prey, as I just mentioned. Prey broke all kinds of records for Hulu over like streaming records or whatever. It's earned some of the best reviews, maybe even the best reviewed film in the Predator franchise, and was actually nominated for an Emmy. It was nominated for an Emmy this year. So Prey, definitely a successful film. Prey 2 is still in the works. Would return to the film's original setting with hopefully Amber Mid-Thunder returning to play her character from Prey and the potential sequel that happens there. But Trachtenberg is doing a completely separate standalone movie in the franchise now. So that is awesome. Like, bring it on, man. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed Prey. Like, I haven't, at that point that I saw Prey, I wasn't um, knowledgeable on the Predator franchise. Still not fully knowledgeable on the Predator franchise. I haven't seen all the movies. Maybe I haven't. I just forgot because some of them were kind of bad. But really loved Prey, man. Prey was very well put together and done. So if we got the same person writing and directing this Badlands movie, perfect, man. Absolutely perfect. Give it to me. Other news in the horror realm: there is a spin-off Evil Dead movie in the works. Cool, awesome. Bring it on. Again, kind of like with like Prey that I just mentioned. Evil Dead is another franchise that I haven't fully dove into and have the best knowledge of. I've seen the original film. I have not seen 2. I've not seen Army of Darkness. I haven't seen Ash vs. Evil Dead, but I have seen the remake, which I absolutely loved. Saw that in theaters when it came out, and Evil Dead Rise last year was absolutely phenomenal. So I'm excited. I'm in that boat of being excited for anything Evil Dead at this point. Give me more. It's a overly grotesque, gory film. That's what I'm gathering from all these movies from the movies I have seen in the franchise, with comedy thrown in there. It's like the dark comedy humor, which is fine. I'm absolutely fantastic. Can get along great with that. So more of that, absolutely fine with it. Give me some more Evil Dead movies. I remember, I think Bruce Campbell saying there will be more films in the Evil Dead franchise, and it won't take as long to make them. So here we go, man. We've already got news of a spinoff in the works. A year, not even a year after Evil Dead Rise came out. So pretty sure a lot of people are excited to jump back into that franchise. And last bit of horror news here deals with a franchise that has been going on and is hitting its best strides right now, and that is the Chucky franchise. My favorite horror franchise, my horror icon is Chucky. Love Chucky to death. I got all kinds of Chucky stuff around me as I'm recording. Um, they, the creator of the franchise, Don Mancini, teased an interesting idea for a next Chucky film. So the Chucky franchise has been going for a number of years. Of course, started in 1988 and has been probably considered by a lot of people the most consistent storyline franchise of any horror films, right? So it's been going there. We had 3 Child's Play films before they started adding of Chucky in the titles. So 3 Child's Play films after that. We got Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, Curse of Chucky, Cult of Chucky. Um, Curse and Cult being 2 films that went straight to um, physical release instead of theaters, which is kind of sucks to think about it because Curse of Chucky is so well done. But after that, it kind of took its break and then has now been a TV series for 3 seasons. Right now, it is on. It took a half step in season 3 as the writer's strike was happening and the actor strike happened. So filming on that show ended. So we've only got half of season 3 so far. The other half will be coming later this year. But I mean, it's just a franchise that does not stop, and that's great for me because as a huge fan. But it's also great because, like I mentioned a moment ago, it's hitting its biggest strides right now. Like it's being very well reviewed, very well talked about, and loved. People are absolutely over the moon about the show, and the thing that's being teased, and there's been some other Chucky teases lately. This next one that's being teased would fit the Chucky franchise. There's but it probably fits it much better than it did the Friday the 13th franchise. And if you're not catching on to what I'm saying here, Don Mancini teased Chucky going to space. Does it need to happen? Yes. Why not? Let's have fun, right? And that would be a fun idea. And I can see, like I don't know how Chucky gets on the spaceship and is up in space. Like maybe like kid brings the doll with them up to space or something. I guess that's how that would happen. But I'm fine with it. Like I would absolutely love it. Chucky is one of those franchises that would work in. Like you can see how that would work. And I'm not taking a knock at Jason X. Jason X is a fun film, but it was out of the blue, right? In that franchise, it was just something out of the blue. Um, and don't get me wrong, it'd be kind of out of the blue in the Chucky franchise or any franchise for that matter to go into space, but unless it's like a space franchise. But I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be interesting. I think they would do very well. I think people would get it. They'd have fun with it. Like there's always that thing with the Chucky, horror thing that people always bring up. Is like, oh, it's just a little doll. I can kick it across the. Chucky kicks people's asses, man. Like Chucky takes some people down. So, um, if we want to go to space, cool, let's do that. But the show's doing great right now, so I wouldn't, really pivot from any of that. Maybe put it in the show, But fun will be had nonetheless if they do that. Like I mentioned earlier, that's it for horror news. As I mentioned earlier, not really anything DC to talk about at the moment, so no DC news for this week's episode. And then last bit of news to go over before we end out the episode. Tom Cruise and Quentin Tarantino may be working together on Tarantino's last film, The Movie Critic. It is said that Cruise is circling the film. He's trying to rearrange his schedule for a role or a cameo in the movie. Cruise will be busy most of the year with Mission Impossible 8. Speaking of Mission Impossible, Paramount Plus has all the Mission Impossible films up to last year's film that I'm blanking on the name of, Dead Reckoning, Reckoning something. Yeah, Dead Reckoning. Still says part one, but it's actually just Dead Reckoning now. But yeah, cool. That'd be awesome. I think Tarantino working with Tom Cruise in his final movie would be great. No matter what the whether it's a small role or just a cameo or ends up being something bigger. Believe I talked about on last week's episode that Brad Pitt has been cast in the film, which makes sense with the history of those two working together. So that'd be cool, man. I like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is easily one of my favorite actors of all time. So I'm into it. That'd be great. I don't remember if I talked about this on last week's episode or not. Maybe I briefly mentioned it because we didn't have much news on it. But there is a new Jurassic film in the works for the franchise. This will be a new trilogy. It seems that they'll be starting. It did say Jurassic World, but I don't know if it's a Jurassic World movie. I'm just gonna say Jurassic franchise because it started with Jurassic Park. So Jurassic Park, and then we had the three Jurassic World films, and now we're getting the start of a new trilogy. It seems a new storyline that they're going to be working on, or a new world that they're going to be working on over there, which I'm more than happy with. Said it multiple times on the show, Jurassic Park's my all-time favorite film, so giving me something in that franchise, I am excited for. So we'll see how that all works out. I know they had somebody attached to direct, and that has fallen through already. But they do have a release date very soon of July 2nd, 2025, which is that the week before Superman Legacy comes out? Let's see, Superman Legacy, July 11th, 2025. So about a week, somewhere around there. So pretty close. Wow, what a time July is going to be next year. So yeah, that's fun. I'm excited for anything Jurassic. I know people have kind of crapped on the last couple of movies in that franchise. I enjoyed them. I think Dominion probably could have been better, but what can you do? It was a Jurassic movie. I had a good time watching it. It was nice to see the core trilogy return from the Jurassic Park franchise into the Jurassic World franchise. So what can you do? And Fallen Kingdom's freaking awesome. I don't care what anybody says about that movie. Fallen Kingdom's awesome. Straight up horror film returning into the Jurassic World. Oh, so good. So there you go, man. Um, is that it? Yeah, that's it. That will be it for this week's episode. Hope you had a good time listening to it, and hope you had some fun. Again, if you've seen Lisa Frankenstein, let me know what your thoughts were in the comments. If you have any thoughts on any of the news I talked about, let me know that in the comments as well. Appreciate you taking the time to listen to this show. There's so many podcasts, and you taking the time to listen to my freaking podcast is awesome, especially this week where we're celebrating 4 years of doing this show. That is so awesome, man. First review I did for the show. What was the first review for the show? Birds of Prey. So there you go, man. Birds of Prey, awesome Harley Quinn film. Over the top, different vibe, colorful, poppy, still that DC realm. And then here we are, 4 years later, Lisa Frankenstein, horror, romance, comedy film. Wouldn't have it any other way, man. So thank you for being along this journey with me with this show. And this show is not going anywhere. The show will continue on as long as I can continue on it. So I appreciate you, as always, taking the time to listen to this show. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, week, month, year, life. And I hope everything works out for you greatly, because it will, man. Just believe in yourself, because you got yourself, and you've got yourself. You're leading in the right way, man. So appreciate you all taking the time to listen to this show. That'll be the end of the show. And as always, I like to end the show. How many times can I say show? I like to end this show with this quote, man. Thank you for listening to the show. And remember that happiness can always be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. Talk to you all next episode.